All right, so I figured why not just pick up right where we left off on the last video. Now this is going to be dipping the toes into just very, very light modding. Uh, and instead of creating like a new mod from scratch or anything like that, what I'm actually going to do is play with the already existing example mod and just try to mess around a little bit and show you what you can possibly do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I don't want it to be called new biomes. I'm being picky about that right now, but let's go to refactor, rename. And I should mention, I didn't mention this in the last video, but the reason why you want to use refactor, rename is because Nikki's, oops, excuse me, the package name is all lowercase. Nikki's example mod. Nikki's sex ample mod. Yes, I'll take it. Sorry, the reason you want to use refactor rename is because when you do that, it makes sure to update all these things in the code where it's referencing the name of something. And it'll fix that sort of everywhere where it's being used. So let's rename this to, again, Nikki's example mod. All right, so now that that's done, I'm actually gonna just do something really, really cool, really simple. I made a cat animation and I'm gonna replace this example mob .png with that cat animation. Ooh, you know what? I don't think it's on this computer. Is it? Tile map kitty? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. I have two computers and I got confused. You can do Control C to copy that and come over here in the mobs directory and do Control V. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna take out that dash. Tile map kitty. So now it's in here. So this is what the example mob looked like before. You saw that in the last video. And basically what I did was I took this sprite sheet and I kind of like just used it to place cats in the same spot, right? So that's 3D, that's 2D pixel art stuff. I'm not going to go over that in this video. But I made sure that the file size with this was the same and everything. So right now, if I go to the example mob class, this class, I believe, is referencing that file, if I'm not mistaken. No, this is the behavior part of it. So let's go back to Nikki's example mod. This is the main sort of spot where it's initializing the mod and all that stuff. But you can see here that it's getting the game texture from a file called, and here's the path. It's using the path, I believe this is the relative path from the resources folder. So instead of mob slash example mob, it's going to be mob slash tile map kitty. So I'm going to save that. And now if we go to the example mob class, this is where all of the sort of the behavior is defined. So I want to make him really slow just for fun. I'm going to make him 10. I don't know what set friction does, but let's change it to 2. And this is where we start playing with things and kind of like learning how modding works, right? This is, like I said, dipping your toes in. it looks like when this mob gets killed, it drops the example item. And you can sort of change the chance that that's going to happen and all that. I'm not going to mess with that right now. You set up the hitbox information here. So I can use that example code later to change the hitbox. This is initializing the AI, which you can change some of the values there as well. Keep in mind, I'm not a professional here. I'm just, I program, so I kind of know what I'm looking at here. And this is spawning death particles, and this should happen when it dies, and so on and so forth. Adding drawables. I guess let's go back to the example mod here. And you can see it's calling example mob.texture. And it's getting a file from here. It's initializing the example mob with a texture. So if we go back here, we can see the texture is not set to anything yet when the class gets pulled, like instantiated. So we're just setting the texture later, basically, after calling it. And please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that's as I understand it. Anyways, we added it, the tile map kitty in. When we initialize the example mob, it uses that resource file to set the texture of the example mob. So let's save it. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm just going to do something stupid here. This is where you start playing with things and like learning how to do kind of cool stuff, right? You can see that the example item is getting registered here, and it's getting registered under none. But if you hit backspace, anywhere where you see a dot like this, right? If you hit backspace all the way back to the dot, and then you just type the dot again, you can see what the other options are. And so I could craft this item at the cheese press, at the workstation, the iron anvil. If it's set to none, it's just one of those things you can craft right out of your inventory. But I'm going to change it to just the regular workstation so we can craft it there. And then we're going to change the ingredient that it takes to spruce log. And we're going to make it crafted for 1 spruce log. And you can see that it's telling it to show this recipe after the wood boat recipe. I don't know if this is saying like you don't get to craft it until after you craft the wood boat, or if this is saying that when you're looking at the list of recipes, it's being shown right after the wood boat in the recipe list. I don't know which one of those things it means, but this is where we start experimenting stuff, right? Now that that's all done, I'm going to go ahead and run the build mod jar again. So everything that I change is getting built, right? It's building it again. It's baking in those changes that I made. Now we're going to do run client. And hopefully we don't get any errors. When we do get errors, it will just close out everything and tell you there's an error. All right, cool. So no errors. Now I said something in the last video that I made a mistake, and I said something like, you know, when you create your new world, name it something like for testing, and then I said, so that it will load your mod. But that's not true. When you launch the game from IntelliJ like that and say run client, It automatically loads the mod. You can actually start up any one of your worlds and that mod will be loaded into it. So just wanted to clarify that. I'm gonna load up my mod dev world because I gave my person some gear that lets me move around a little bit faster, and I just, I want it to be a little bit more convenient, right? So now if I go up to here and I go to the crafting table, you can see, so when we looked at the code and we said load after the boat, you can see now that it means that in the workstation menu, the recipe gets loaded after the boat recipe. So it does not mean that you have to craft the boat first in order to unlock it. It just means that in the list, it comes right after it. So that's good to know. And we have one spruce log, so we can craft it and put it in our inventory. And of course, right now, it doesn't actually do anything, right? It's just an item, right? Anyways, so let's go to the cave because I really want to see the kitty that we... Remember, we took the example mob and we replaced its textures with the cat textures. So we should run into one of those kitties here eventually. Gonna kill some stuff. And would you look at that? Would you just look at that? And look, I made him slower, so the animation's going kind of really slow right now. So it looks kind of weird, but it is kind of funny because I made his animation like... I'm not good at drawing sideways animations. It's kind of really cute that he's walking really slow, creeping up on me like that. But right now he's behaving like a mob. He's gonna attack me if I get too close. And if I kill it, which I feel really bad for doing, it's not really loading up the right death particles, probably, because I didn't set that up. But you can see now that all we did was tweak a couple of things, and now we were able to test them out in the game. So I'm gonna exit this. And let's see what happened. I don't know why this rabbit mob constructor keeps happening. Don't know what's triggering that, but whatever. And could not load the inventory item kitty summon. I don't know why that's coming up. I did that in a separate project and it should not be trying to load it into this project. I think there's something going on with caching in my system that's like trying to load data that shouldn't be part of this project. But anyways, yeah, so that's all the testing that I wanted to do for that. Maybe I'll try one more thing real quick. Where's that example? What was it? Example material item, I guess. Let's go down here to resources and look. Here's that example item that we could craft. We could technically like just, again, replace the PNG, or not replace the PNG, but we can add in a new PNG in here. I'll do that real quick. Let's view some small icon. Nope. Was it medium? Yeah. So I'm going to use this kitty summon PNG. So copy, come over here to items. We'll do paste, say okay. So now this kitty summon PNG is in here. This was when I was working on creating the summon item for the cat. I'm still working on that mod. I'll go over that later. But now if I go back to the, what is it? Material item? No. And I'll explain one more thing real quick. You see all these classes, these are all built separately, but they all get pulled into this main class file. And I'll show you how that happens. Right up here, the package name is right here. Necesse ample mod. Haha. Sorry, I had to say it again. That's the package name. It's relating to this folder. Now inside of this folder, we have an examples folder, or directory, as a true programmer would say. And you can see that we're importing from the package Nicky's example mod dot examples, so from the examples directory, and dot star means we're importing everything from this directory. So if we want to make a call to the example buff class, then it's been imported right here. So where is buff? Right here. So we can say new example buff because we imported it right here, and it's this file right here, this class right here. So I'm looking real quick for that item. Example item. Where does the texture get loaded for that example item? That's what I want to know. Because notice when we do init resources, we're giving it the texture for the mob right here. But where are we giving it the texture for the example item? So I'm just looking through these files real quick to see where it is. Let's control F search. Example item. Example material item. Let's go to that class. Okay, so nothing there to tell me. It's registering there. New ingredient. New ingredient. Show after example item. So interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say, like, I don't know where the texture for the example item is being loaded from. Because looking at this, it's registering the item as example item. Example sword, example staff, example mob. This is all the registry stuff. And then on initialization, I guess that's when they load the mob textures. But when did they load the item textures? If I were to change every single one of those things that says example item, like the ingredient string ID, does that mean it would automatically look in the resources file under items and use that ingredient string ID, including the PNG that it comes with? I don't know. I hope somebody can answer that question for me, but let's give that a shot. Let's change everything that says example item. And again, we'll double click, we'll right click, we'll go to refactor, and then we'll go to, change signature. No, can't do that. Refactor. I guess I can't just rename a string like that everywhere that exists. So I'll just do it the hard way. I'm just going to rename all these to kitty summon. I really hope some Java programmers watch this and are like, dude, you can just do it like this, and then it's okay. You can make me feel stupid. I just want to know how to do it. And I'm just going to take a peek back through these other files to see, was there any indication? No, this is just information about that new item. Yeah. I guess in the code, I'm just repeating myself here. I guess the string ID and the string ingredient string, I'm sorry. The string ID and the ingredient string ID, I guess they have to reference something in the items resource package, which we have the kitty summon in there. Let's just go ahead and try to build it and then run it and then see what we get. And then maybe later on somebody can explain to me why that worked, if it does work, and whatever else after that. Okay, so it loaded. That's a good sign. So let's go ahead, continue mod dev. And let's leave this cave. And let's go to our crafting table. And look, there it is. So I didn't have to tell it to reference the relative path like I did with the mob. I just put in the string ID, and I guess it just knows to look in the resources/items folder for an item with this name, and then it gets everything it needs from there. So if somebody could explain that to me, great. Let's craft one, put it in our inventory, and then just put it here, and then just like wave it around and say, haha, look, I got a kitty in my hand. All right, so that's going to conclude this video, just touching on like playing with the example files, and I'll do a more in-depth video about, I don't know, when I learn something new, I'll share it with everyone. And that's it for now.